if we make sure that we have our homework on our desk, I want to make sure we go over some of these problems that we left before the end of class. So pause this video unless everybody has their homework out on their desk. So we're looking at the front of the middle page of that packet. So we're going to look at number 6. So number 6, I only have this angle and I have this angle. So I have to find this third angle. So I'm going to how do I find angles in a triangle? They all add up to equal 180. So I'm going to do 90 plus 180, and then I'm going to subtract that number from 180, and I get 53 for this top angle. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing to find this angle up here. I'm going to do 63 plus 90, and then I'm going to subtract it from 180, and I get 27. Are any of my angles congruent? Well, yes, one of them are, but in order to prove they're similar, two angles have to be congruent. Are two angles congruent? No. So are these triangles similar? No, not similar. If I look at this next one, it says number 1 because clearly I can't count. Whenever you're struggling with stacked triangles, I will mention they are the hardest problems. I always encourage that you highlight your little triangle. That's your little triangle. So notice your little triangle, you have this angle at the top that is shared with the big triangle. So that's one angle. So now I know that this line and this side are parallel. So I need to be able to find one more pair of congruent angles. So this angle here with this angle down here are congruent because they're corresponding. So are these triangles similar? Yes, because of angle-angle similarity, and I'm done. If I look at this next one, I have my little triangle right here. So again, I have to find all three angles. So I do 50 plus 45 and subtract that from 180. I get 85. And now if I look at my big triangle, I have 50 plus 85. Subtract that from 180. I have 45. So if I look at my little triangle and then I look at my big triangle, are there two angles that are congruent? Yes. So I can say angle-angle works. All right, so if I go ahead and do this one, 45 plus 85, subtract that from 180, I get 50. So this is 50. And then if I do 85 plus 50 and subtract that from 180, I get 45. You know you have two angles that match, so angle-angle works. And if I do the last one, 57 plus 92, subtract that from 180, I get 31 degrees. And 41 plus 92, subtract that from 180, I get 47 degrees. Do you have two angles that are congruent? No, so they're not similar. So go ahead and flip your paper for me, please. This picture that is projecting now, these are the problems that you had to do for your homework. You had to watch a video on Google Classroom and you had to set up these proportions. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip to the next page. So hopefully you all did this. If not, then you're unfortunately behind, but hopefully you can get caught up. So go ahead and go to the next page and let's keep going. So looking at this page, I want to go ahead and I want to set up and solve these problems for X. So if I look at number 1, I want to set up number 1 so that I can solve for it. So I'm going to focus, and again, if you like highlighting, you might want to highlight the little triangle so your brain always knows to do little triangle over big triangle. It doesn't matter what you do, little over big or big over little, as long as you keep it the same. So I'm going to look at 5. 5 is little. It corresponds to what side on my big one? It corresponds to X. My other little side is 8. 8 corresponds to 40. So now what am I going to do to solve? I'm just going to cross multiply. So 5 times 40 is 200. 8 times X is 8X. And now I'm going to divide by 8. 200 divided by 8, X is 25. If I go ahead and I look at number 8, these are what they call the hardest problems because they're the trickiest. So I'm going to highlight my little triangle. What's one side of my little triangle? Well, it's X. So X over. So now I'm going to find the big side. So this big side corresponds to the little blue side, that's X. So it's not 45. That's what's going to trick you. You're going to tell me it's this piece right here, when really that's not true. It's this whole side. So how do I put x and 45 together? I add them. So I'd say x plus 45. You're going to say 45x, but 45x is 45 times x. When you put two pieces together, you're adding, you're not multiplying. So my little side is x, and my big side is x plus 45. If I look at my other little side on my blue triangle, it's 60. 60 corresponds to 90 down at the bottom. So now I'm good to cross multiply. 90 times x is 90x. 60 times x is 60x, and then I have to do 60 times 45, which is 2,700. So now I'm going to solve for x. I'm going to subtract 60x on both sides. I get 30x equals 2,700. So now I'm going to divide that by 30. I get 90. And I'm done. So if I go ahead and I keep going, number 9. Number 9 is a bad problem because there's no x. Cross it out. Let's look at number 10. So let's see if we can set this one up. So I am going to highlight my little triangle. And I know 31 corresponds to 58, so a little over big. So now I know my big side here is 94, so that'll go on the bottom. But how do I find this little side? Well, this plus this makes 94, right? So what would I have to do to get this? Well, it'd be 94 minus x, because I'm taking this and I'm doing the opposite, because this plus this adds up to equal this. So I got to do the opposite. You take the opposite is subtract. So I do 94 minus x to equal that. So that little side is 94 minus x. So now I'm going to cross multiply. 31 times 94 is 2,914. And then I'm going to do 58 times 94 is 5,452 minus 58x. Let me write that a little prettier. So now I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 5,452 on both sides. And I'm going to divide by negative 58. So x equals 43.8. And I'm done. So I want you to go ahead and I want you to pause this video and I want you to try solving these two problems the exact same way. When you finish these two problems, I want you to go ahead and unpause it and then I will go over it. So I'm going to highlight my little triangle, and I'm going to also go ahead and find all my big sides. So this side is 18, and this side is x minus 4 plus 8, right? But I can clean that up to say what? X plus 4, because negative 4 and positive 8 make positive 4. So now if I set up a proportion, little over big equals other little over big. Cross multiply. 18 times x is 18x. 18 times 4 is 72. And then I have 12x plus 48. So now I want to subtract 12x on both sides. So I have 6x minus 72 equals 48. So now I have 6x equals 48 plus 72 is 120. So x equals 20 because I divided by 6. If I come over and I look at this last problem, I'm going to go ahead and add up my big sides so I have them. So, and if I highlight my little triangle too so we can see that. So if I add up this side, I have x minus 5 plus 15, so that's going to be x plus 10, because negative 5 and 15 make positive 10. And on this side, x minus 4 plus 18 is x plus 14. So one little side is 15 over its big side is x plus 10 equals my other little side is 18 over my big side is x plus 14. I'm now going to cross multiply to solve. So I have 15x, and then 15 times 14 is 210 equals 18x plus 180, which is 18 times 10. I'm just distributing. So now I'm going to subtract 15x on both sides. And I have 210 equals 3x plus 180. So now I'm going to subtract 180 on both sides. So I have 3x, 210 minus 180 is what? 30. So x equals 10.